Hello, I'm Jennifer Lee Levitz, and you are welcome to Unleash the Power of Age. We're a show that's sponsored by the Gloucester Council on Aging and the Rose Baker Senior Center. I have a lovely, wonderful guest with me today. You probably know him. I knew him before. Well, he's on committees that I'm on, and I'll stop talking and just welcome Bob Gillis. Hello, Bob.
Well, thank you, Jennifer Lee. It's great to be here, and I appreciate your asking me. I hope we'll be talking about something that's interesting that people will find worth watching.
Well, it usually turns out all right. We get really good guests and of your caliber. So what we do in this conversation is to let people know about you. I know a lot of people know you from the bank.
Yep.
And from your other activities in town. And I wonder if you wouldn't mind letting us know a little bit more about your personal life. Like,
Sure.
How you're in Gloucester. I asked you earlier, are you a native?
Right, and I'm not a native, and many of you know that. Gloucester's a small island. I was brought here when I was 2 years old. My mother and father moved to Gloucester. My dad became the golf pro at Bass Rocks, where he was there for 37 years. And my mother worked in the shop too, so it was and our house was right on the golf course. So that's where I grew up, and it was kind of an idyllic upbringing for me. Wonderful, and also that's where I worked as a young person. Started shagging golf balls when I was probably 9 years old, and then caddying, and then washing clubs, and working in the shop, and doing greenskeeping, and
wow.
So it was a golf club life for sure. For a long time.
That's pretty idyllic. I can think of people that I know who would have given anything to have that as the start to life. You probably also, so you met everybody in town, well, a lot of people in town early in your life.
Yes, yeah, and that was a big advantage for me because, as many people know, I worked at the Cape Ann Savings Bank for 46 years, and I was hired by Charlie Lowry, who was the president of the bank, and he was also a member at Bass Rocks Golf Club, as was his successor, Henry Jones. And so back in 1975, Charlie hired me, and I started my banking career then. So to your point, it's a great opportunity to meet people in the golf business. So
Sure. So are you a golfer? You would have to be.
I was. So has been is more like it. So I could play at one time, but I gave up the game probably 10 years ago for a number of reasons, but mostly because just busy with too many other things. And golf is a great game, but it's time consuming, and I've got a lot of other interests. So,
Including you have a family?
Yes, I do. I have a wife, and we have 3 kids and 4 grandchildren. So, yeah. So we're very happy with that. As a matter of fact, I have a great grandchild too.
Wow.
Who just turned 3 years old. So that yeah. It's great. I got nothing else to say about it. My granddaughter and her daughter live in Providence, and they're in this area quite a bit, so we get to see her. My great grandchild's name is Lucille, and she's a blast, a lot of fun, and my other 3 grandchildren live here in Gloucester, so we're lucky to have them here. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
it's nice. You have that small world. You have it all there. I like that. And you are an involved guy. I mean,
Have a hard time saying no, Jennifer, as you do, I'm
there,
sure.
I mean, there's a song about that I used to sing in my musical comedy days. We can't say no. I know it's true. I'm involved in a lot of. At this point, most of it is volunteering, although not all of it. The Housing Authority Board that I'm on is not a volunteer job. And every time I talk about it, I thank you, Safadia. She brought me in when there was a vacancy, and boy, I learned so much. I have learned so much about the city, about the home situation, the housing situation, you know what I've learned a lot about? From David, the executive director.
David Holden, yeah.
David Holden is an amazing man.
Yep. Yep.
And by the time this airs, he might not be with us.
I know he's retiring,
He's
right?
retiring.
Yeah.
He said that, and I screamed, no. Not that I don't think we'll get someone else. Of course, there'll be someone else.
Sure.
But he's a lovely person and knowledgeable. I've learned a lot just about being in charge of something, being a leader, being how to be a gracious, because I'm a little bit like a freight train. I'll just barrel through anything. And I've learned a lot from David about being just nicer.
Sure. Yeah, he's a gentleman. Solid and, as you said, knowledgeable and very mission oriented.
Very mission oriented, and excuse me.
Sure.
Anyway. So there's the Housing Authority Board, and so much of what you do is housing oriented. Is that true?
Yes, I've been involved with affordable housing for decades now, not years, but decades, and it's something I've always been passionate about. And currently, I'm the president of the board of Harbor Light Homes, which you're familiar with.
Sure.
We're working with the Housing Authority on the property on the east end of Main Street. And I'm also on the city's Affordable Housing Trust. I'm involved with the Housing for All organization. And it's important to me because it's becoming more difficult to afford a home, and people are spending more and more of their incomes on housing itself, and
Right.
it's making life more difficult for a lot of people, particularly those at the lower end of the income scale.
Well, as I mentioned, being on the Housing Authority Board has brought a lot of things into focus that I didn't know anything about. I've owned my home for quite a while, but I've never been challenged in having a home, and learning about what it is like to have that as a challenge in your life has brought a lot of things, so to speak, home to me about how people get along and what it's like to not even privileged, but to not have a solid base in your life. I would imagine that's the kind of thing you've run into quite a bit.
Yeah, and my just basic belief is that home is a fundamental need for all of us. It starts there. We all need a lot of things, but what's the first thing? Shelter, safety, comfort. That's number one, and so it's a basic need that we have, and it goes from there. But unfortunately, in many ways, the issue of housing has become politicized, and I understand why. People have valid reasons for feeling the way that they do. One of the things is we live in a beautiful place. We love it here. We all love what we have. And, for many of us, it's, why not just keep it the way it is and don't change anything? We'll just leave it like this. We've got enough traffic, schools are good, everything's good, don't change anything. But the reality is that change will happen whether we want it or not, and it's better to try to control as much of that change in the best interest of the community as we can.
I do know. I do. I'm going to jump back a little bit to the idea that you are a volunteer.
Yes.
You're one of the volunteers in town.
Yep.
So you're on the housing, a lot of it is housing. I remember running into you at Stage Ford Park, where you had something to do with having music in the gazebo.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, working for the bank, Cape Ann Savings Bank. Every year we sponsored a concert at Stage Fort Park, the Sunday night concerts.
Yes.
So we sponsored those, as have other, companies and organizations in town, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing. You always get droves of people come out for that on a nice summer night, and we always had. We had free ice cream for people and things like that. So just such a fun evening.
Right.
Yeah. And we had the bank always sponsored the Beatles cover band, and they were awesome. But I've been to a couple of those up there, and every show up there is great. It's just a wonderful community thing.
It is. We have a lot of that. We have a lot of wonderful community things, actually.
Yeah.
And as a volunteer, what is it you look for when you're volunteering?
Well, I love the community. I want to pitch in. Now I'm retired, so my days aren't completely structured. Although I volunteered when I was working too. I like to pitch in. I want to help out. I like the relationships that I make along the way. I've met so many terrific people here. I feel very, very lucky. And I like pitching in. I think it's fun. Selfishly, it's something that I enjoy doing, and if it helps out a little bit, then I like doing it.
I asked you that because I wanted to get onto the subject of volunteering in general. For people who are thinking of volunteering, sometimes, for instance, part of my volunteer work, I'm on the community preservation committee.
Yeah.
And that is a volunteer job for all the committees in town are volunteer jobs. I mean, you turn around, you bump into a volunteer job in this community, which is great.
Thank you for your service on that. That's an important.
Oh, I love that committee. I'm looking at bringing it around to volunteering in general, and for the Rose Baker Center for the Council on Aging, there are a lot of volunteering opportunities. Mama's like a professional volunteer. And for those of you who aren't going to go out and set the town on fire, there are still some great places to start, and Rose Baker is one of them, because there's a program at Rose Baker that will teach you how to be a volunteer. You're welcome to come in and do something that is an expertise for you. Somebody has a particular talent or ability and you want to share that. That's one way. Or you could come in and take a look at something you've never done before and make it a new experience. If you just want to meet people, Rose Baker is a great place to meet people. And please keep in mind that we have free lunches every day. Some of it's through senior care and some of it's with the open door. We do 2 lunches a week with the open door. And pretty soon we're going to have 5 lunches a week from the open door.
Wow,
that's exciting.
That's fantastic.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And I love the way it crisscrosses and comes together with the different agencies and different organizations helping each other and giving to each other. I think it's terrific. So if you want to come in and check us out for lunch or free purple bags, not free, I'm sorry. Oh God, I didn't say that. Not free purple bags. But we have a discount on the purple bags.
I just heard about that.
I
just heard about that from my brother-in-law, actually. Yeah, so that's good to know.
We sell out constantly.
Of course.
It's one of the most popular things. And one of the things that's great about it is that you have to join. You have to be signed up with the Council on Aging to get the purple bags. And it's some people started out that way and now come to more programs. We aren't just for bingo anymore.
Yep. There are more activities.
And for a lot of people, I mean, now there's bridge and mahjong and canasta and what's the one they have a tournament for?
Cribbage? Is it cribbage?
Cribbage.
Just a guess.
No.
I'm not really a card player, but I was just guessing.
There's a cribbage. What a guess.
Yeah. My mother played all these games, so that's how I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
So if you're a game player, there's a place for you at Rose Baker. But I in particular wanted to bring up the volunteering. I think that there's a place for you. There's something for you to do with an existing interest or making a new one. Anyway, speaking of new interests, anything new lately?
Yeah, and it's there's always something going on, right, Jennifer?
Right?
Always something happening, but I'm involved with the, it's another housing issue, but it's the MBTA zoning overlay, which is, it's contentious, and people have strong feelings about it, but, and I get that, I understand it, but my feeling on it is that people should just try to understand the facts behind it and as best they can, the basic facts, and then make an informed decision. And that's what everybody should do. And you'll have the opportunity to do that in the next few months. But it's so I've been involved with that, and I'm happy to be involved with it. There are people on either side of the issue, and my goal is to help just educate people on the realities of what we're dealing with, and then they can make an informed decision. And that's I think that should be everybody's goal. People can vote one way or the other, but you should be informed. And that's. So I'm involved with that, along with other things. My Tuesday gig is I go to Seacoast Nursing Home and I deal blackjack. They have a blackjack game, and I've been doing that since my mother was there. She passed away last April, but she played blackjack on a regular basis, and I just kept on doing it after she passed because it's a great group of people, and I have fun with it, so that's my once-a-week Tuesday gig. So
who knew? Okay, so what do they use for chips? I mean, how can you play blackjack without betting?
Oh yeah, well there are chips, but what happens is when you win a game, you get a chip, or if you get a blackjack you get 2 chips, and at the end of it, whoever has the most chips wins $1.
Wow.
Yeah, and even if you don't win $1, you still get 50 cents. So it's a pretty good thing. But it's so it's not the money so much as it is the prestige of winning. So, and these folks, they're great people, and they're competitive. They take the game seriously, and they have fun at the same time. So. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, so I can't get off topic very much when I'm dealing blackjack because they say, "Come on, let's go deal the cards. Let's go. I got a job to do." So, so it's fun. It really is. Yeah.
When you were talking about the overlay, it was interesting. What came to mind, there was a word that came to mind, and that was creative. I think that this is a great opportunity for somebody, for a group of people, for the city to get creative. You know, there are all these laws and rules and regulations, and a lot of people look at it as an opportunity, or they look at it as constraining or stopping them or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is not new, but it's a little twist to the kind of regulations that we've had before. And I think it's a great opportunity to be creative.
Yeah. Yep.
Who knows what we could come up with if people could get behind it. Also, I think before we started recording, you mentioned we were talking about Habitat for Humanity.
Yes.
And you said they tried to come in years ago and they were stopped
Mm-hmm.
by the neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
And that led to how some people like change, and some people can't stand change and don't want anything to change. But as you said, it's life. Everything changes.
Yep. Yep. And to your point, creativity. We can drive the bus and control that change, or have someone else control it for us. And I think it's much better as a community to guide that change as much as we can.
Are we doing? There are discussions going on about all the planning and organizing that's done every 10 years. I was asked to be in a session,
Focus group, or
a focus group. I have to figure out how to do the software so I can say that I'll do it. But aside from that, there are a lot of opportunities to contribute to the planning, to the organizing, to the. I think you just have to pick up a phone and make a call to. I would start with City Hall, or can you think of a place that if people have opinions and ideas on how to wrestle this beast, what should they do with it?
well, there are groups that you and I are familiar with. Committees that you can be on, different groups looking at all kinds of different interests. Where you can affect change. What we're talking about is one of them, and there are lots of other opportunities too. To your point about City Hall, there are boards that I think are looking for people all the time. You see that in the newspaper and social media. They're always looking for their volunteer positions, but they're always looking for volunteers for these various boards. And what a great way to contribute. You're contributing directly to the city, and we're blessed to have as many volunteers as we do. But there's always a need for more, isn't there?
There is. There's always room for more.
Yep.
There's always room for more. Back to Rose Baker for a second. I think people think of Rose Baker as the Rose Baker Center as the only for old people. It's not. You can be any age and come in. There are a couple of programs you have to be over either 62 or 65. But in general, you can eat with us if you're any age. You can take part in programs, I'm pretty sure. It's meant to be a community resource. Please, if you would like to, well, of course, volunteer, but if there are things that you need, if we cannot service you at Rose Baker, we can tell you who can. So it's one of the places in town where you can get in easily and speak to someone quickly. And again, if we can't help you, we know people like Bob who can, or we can tell you who can help you.
Sure. It's a wonderful resource, centrally located, so most people can get to it very easily. And And the times that I've gone into the senior center for a meeting or this or that, whatever it is, it's always bustling. It's a lot of activity in there. It's just it's a tremendous resource for the city.
There's so much to talk about. I can't think of. We're almost out of our time.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else that you want people to know about you or about what you're doing that you want to just say?
I think it's kind of boring, about me, but as I say, I feel very, very fortunate to live in this community, and I've met a lot of great people on different sides of issues, whatever it is, and we're all here looking for what's best for the community, and there are different ways to approach it, and we try to do that in a civil way, and have fun while we do it, and that's what it's about. I'm glad I'm living here.
Well, we're glad you're living here too, Bob.
Yeah.
I couldn't help it. I had to. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to know you, and it's great to have this chat so other people can maybe get to know you a little better.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer. Appreciate it.
Thank you.